Welcome back to On Point Politics, and today I'm doing something a little bit interesting. I'm doing a hypothetical scenario. What if the YouTuber MrBeast, aka Jimmy Donaldson, ran for US president in 2024? Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. And make sure to go ahead and donate to our crowdfunding poll for Michigan and Pennsylvania. We are raising money to be able to conduct polling here with SoCal Research. And we have a lot of exciting things going on behind the scenes. We are also on the 538 aggregate now, meaning that these polls will be visible on the 538 polling aggregate. So any support is greatly appreciated. Now, to preface this, I am going to go over a little bit of context, some ground rules for this. This is going to be set this year. Like, let's say Donald Trump just didn't run, and the other thing is MrBeast would hypothetically be allowed to run. He is actually allowed to run when he's 35 years of age. As of right now, if we go to his page, he is currently 26 years old. He would technically be able to run in the 2036 presidential election cycle. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because he's actually shared a decent amount of interest in running for U.S. president before. And I think as somebody, that really is serious about everything he does, I think he would appreciate somebody to actually give a good take on like what this would genuinely look like for this cycle. He is a philanthropist, YouTuber. He's done many things across the world. He has amassed over 300 million subscribers on YouTube. So this would definitely be a big deal to everybody in the country as a whole. And the reason why I have him as the Republican nominee for this cycle is because if we actually look here, Jimmy was born in Greenville, North Carolina, and that county or that city is actually located in Beaufort County. We can see it right here, Beaufort County, North Carolina. This is the county that he's actually from. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but it is what it is. I believe it's Beaufort County. Trump won that county by 26 points. We also see right here that he actually went to Greenville Christian Academy. Being a Christian and being in a R+30, county would heavily indicate that he is actually more than likely at least somewhat, are leaning to an extent, at least some conservative leaning. So for this hypothetical scenario, I am going to be making him the Republican candidate. And on top of that, I actually did a VP pick. And the number one option that I actually found for him was Byron Donalds. I think he would pick Byron Donalds from the state of Florida. Byron Donalds is a U.S. representative out of Florida's 19th congressional district. I believe that this would be a good pick for him because, he's a little bit older than MrBeast. MrBeast Byron Donalds would actually be about 54 years old by the time they would actually be eligible to run. But I think that Byron would actually be a good pick because he would already have experience in the government. He is a little bit more MAGA first, and he'd be able to draw that crowd of the base in order to vote for Jimmy. And so that is basically why I decided that would be the best pick for MrBeast in this hypothetical scenario. And so now to go over to the Electoral College map, guys, this is going to be a close race. I did model this out based on demographics. So I do one map for age, one map for education, one map for gender, one map for income, and one map for race. And we see varied results here spanning all the way from, 319 Electoral College votes all the way up to 345 Electoral College votes. So the different categories look vastly different as of right now. And so what I'm going to actually do is go from west to east to fill out this map in order to fill these out. So for the state of Washington, that state would actually be a 14.9 percentage point victory for incumbent President Joe Biden. Joe Biden actually won the state. If we can actually go back here, Joe Biden actually won the state by 19 points in the 2020 election cycle. So that would indicate a 5-point shift from that election. It's more like a 4-point shift, like 4.3 percentage point shift to the right from the last cycle. The state of Oregon would be about a 12-point victory. That's also around a 4-point shift from the last cycle there. We also see in the state of California, Biden would be winning the state by about 23 points. I actually have Jimmy Donaldson, or MrBeast. I actually have him doing pretty well. We can actually go over here. I actually have him underperforming with Hispanics. He loses them by about 15, loses African Americans by 30. He does win Asian voters though, and does win whites by about 20 points in my modeling there. And so when you kind of average this all out, we see, yes, he is going to gain a decent amount of support in some of the city areas in California, but I don't think it would be enough. I think a lot of older plus 65 voters, even to an extent plus 45 voters, probably wouldn't vote for Jimmy, just because of the fact they would be kind of put off by the whole YouTube thing. I think that would actually draw away a lot of older Republicans and Democrats, and I think they would kind of all go to Biden in this scenario. So unlike the Trump matchup, this is actually a pretty close election in retrospect, to be honest. In the state of Alaska, it's a 14.3 percentage point victory. That would actually be around a 4-point shift towards MrBeast in this election cycle. If we go to the state of Nevada, we can actually see that MrBeast would win the state by about 1.9 percentage points. He would probably do a little bit better in rural Nevada. He would improve in Clark, improve in Washoe a decent amount, but it wouldn't be enough to win the state by double digits like how Donald Trump probably can in the 2024 election cycle. You guys also got to understand that Donald Trump is basically a part incumbent, part challenger type candidate, and so that's why he's able to, put on a pretty massive victory in the Electoral College. State of Idaho is going to be safe in this Electoral College scenario at a 35-point victory for MrBeast. States like Utah are going to be safe for him. He's going to be winning that state fairly easily. He'll be winning the state of Utah by about 25 points. That would be a 5-point shift in Donald's favor. He does improve with white voters compared to Trump from last cycle, so that's definitely going to be something that I do want everybody to notice there. In the state of South Carolina, he's actually winning that state by about 16 points as of right now. In the state of Hawaii, we actually have Biden winning the state of Hawaii by about 23. So MrBeast does actually gain about 6 points from the last election cycle there. We see in the state of Colorado, Biden would be winning the state by about 8. That's around a 5-point shift towards Jimmy. So we see about 4 to 5 point shift in every single state. So this would indicate that MrBeast would probably be winning the popular vote by about 1. And what's really interesting about my demographic model for this is that I actually believe that the non-college vote would probably be almost tied. I actually think a lot of rural voters would probably flock to Biden in this scenario, or just sit out the election either way. And I actually think one of the main reasons why Donaldson or MrBeast would be able to win the election is because of college educated voters. I actually have him winning college educated voters by about 10 percentage points there. So that is something very remarkable to notice as well. In the state of Texas, we can actually go there. Jimmy would be winning that state by about 10.7 percentage points, which would be about a 5.5 point shift to the right from 2020. So that is also pretty fascinating. If we go to the state of New Mexico, 6.4%. That's around it's a little bit less than a 3-point shift because Jimmy's not doing the best with Hispanics, but it's still pretty decent for the most part. Arizona is about a 3.5 point victory. We don't see Nevada vote to the right of Arizona because, again, Hispanics are not shifting enough to the right this cycle compared to Donald Trump's performance. However, Jimmy does well enough with college-educated voters. He does well enough with younger voters in order to pull off the state by 3.5. I would expect him to win Maricopa by about a point or so. That's roughly what I would see. The state of Iowa, I think Jimmy probably wins it by 11.5. You would see a lot of fraternities, a lot of college students really vote for MrBeast in this scenario, but a lot of older, whiter voters would probably not vote for him. I actually would expect MrBeast to probably lose the Iowa caucus if he ran as a Republican candidate, but would probably do a lot better in states like Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Ohio. Like, he'd do a lot better in places with major really big college towns, and Iowa does too, but I think that the more evangelical candidate would probably win Iowa in that primary. I actually think if Ted Cruz ran in the future or something like that against MrBeast, he probably would be able to win it. I even think DeSantis would probably be able to win Iowa, believe it or not, in a primary against MrBeast and a field of candidates there. In the state of Ohio, we have MrBeast winning it by 11.8 percentage points as well. In the state of Illinois, about 12.2 percentage points for Joe Biden there. And in the state of Virginia, we actually have Joe Biden only winning it by 4.8%. So that's also pretty interesting as well. In the state of North Carolina, a 5.9 percentage point victory for Jimmy would actually come out of the state. So that's pretty impressive. The state was a 1.3 percentage point win for Donald Trump. So he would definitely be improving with a decent amount of demographics there. Florida, he's actually winning it in this model by 7.5. So that's around, a 4-point shift there as well. So we're seeing in each state about a 3 to 5 point shift in favor of MrBeast in every single state, which would basically give him an electoral college victory. If we go to the state of Georgia, that state he actually shifts by 5. He's actually winning it by 5.1 percentage points. Exactly what Trump won it by back in 2016. So that is also really fascinating to see as well. Vermont, that's going to be in the safe column for Joe Biden, 31-point victory. States like, Massachusetts, 28 points. Maryland, about 27. D.C., in this scenario, is a 75-point victory as well. So those states are going to be going in that column. But states like Connecticut are going to be safe. But Delaware actually falls as a 14.8 percentage point win for Joe Biden. We even see in the state of Rhode Island a safe margin there. And then the state of New Jersey, Joe Biden's actually only winning it by about 11 points there. And in the state of New York, that would be an 18-point victory for the incumbent president as of right now. And Nebraska's second congressional district would actually just be a 1.3 percentage point win for Jimmy in this electoral college scenario. We also see Maine at large would be a likely win for Joe Biden. We see Maine's first is safe in this scenario. It's actually likely, believe it or not. And then a Maine second would be a likely margin as well. So that's a pretty interesting combination there. We also see in the state of New Hampshire that Jimmy's actually only really losing the state by about 3.8 percentage points there. And he's already at 269 electoral college votes. We see Wisconsin a 3.1 percentage point victory in the state. In the state of Michigan, just 1.1% for Jimmy in this electoral college scenario. And in the state of Pennsylvania, a 3-point victory as well. And in the state of Minnesota, we actually have about a 3-point victory for Joe Biden. So at the end of the day, if MrBeast were to run for U.S. president as the Republican candidate and pick Brian Donalds as his running mate, which I think would be a smarter thing for him to pick somebody that's already in government, but that's also a little bit more populist, you would actually get a 313 electoral college victory to Joe Biden's 225 electoral college results. Joe Biden is kind of able to go in there and he's kind of able to rally up that, nostalgic urban rural support from back then, at least the rural support from ancestral Democrats. Biden would do slightly better with them, but I think Jimmy would do a lot better with some suburban voters, but not really. I think where he would really do well is with college-educated voters and younger voters. Like, that would really drive his electoral college victory. That's why Georgia is likely, because I believe Georgia Tech and a lot of the colleges there would just be, the margins would be insane for Jimmy. I think he would even actually be able to pick off some university counties, believe it or not, or at least actually win university votes outright in this scenario. Like, it would be crazy, but then the rural margins for him wouldn't be great. Like, he wouldn't do that well with some of the rural margins. And so that's why you see very narrow victories for Nevada, Arizona, in the Rust Belt. I mean, honestly, this is a pretty decent performance. I mean, he's doing better than Trump in 2016. And that's mainly because Biden is really unpopular right now. Like, if Biden was even, just down 10 nationally, I probably would have Biden actually winning this scenario, to be honest. But as of right now, when you model it out based off of demographics, this is the map you get in the Electoral College as of right now. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.